Sultan Salahuddin was born in 1137 to Kurdish parents in the fortress of Tikrit on the banks of the Tigris River. His father, Ayyub Kurd, was the commander of the fortress of Tikrit and a feudal lord in the suburbs. Ayyub Kurd named his son Yusuf. Yusuf's uncle Shirkuh was a brave, enthusiastic and fierce warrior. Like Ayyub Kurd, he was also an important official in the army of the Seljuk Turk Atabeg of Mosul, Imad al-Din Zengi. But the two brothers had different temperaments. Shirkuh remained a swordsman throughout his life, but Ayyub Kurd was a brilliant diplomat and a shrewd politician. He preferred words to the sword. In 1139, Imad al-Din al-Zengi attacked the ancient city of Baalbek. This city was called the City of the Sun by the Greeks. From here, the Chikali rock was taken to Jerusalem, from which the golden dome of the rock was built. Upon the arrival of the armies of the living, the citizens of Baalbek stood firm in their defense. The city was conquered, but the army was besieged in the fortress. Ayyub Kurd, one of Zengi's generals, was included in Zengi's army. He was accompanied by his wife and infant Yusuf, as well as Tand Kushirko. Thanks to Ayyub Kurd's diplomacy, the citizens of Baalbek were ready to surrender and the city and fortress were captured. The victorious life made Ayyub Kurd the commander of the fort and the governor of the province. War was not a characteristic of Ayyub Kurd's temperament. More noteworthy than military affairs were his administrative and there were political skills. Ayyub demonstrated his God-given skills in maintaining peace and order in Baalbek, which was not an easy task. The people of the rural areas revolted as soon as Zengi returned. Only enemies of the Atabeg of Mosul were found in the outskirts of Baalbek. Shirkuh had played an important role in the conquest, but now Ayyub's task was more difficult. In those days, everyone in the Islamic world was a soldier and a warrior in some form or another. Anyone with a little strength and courage would go out and take up the sword, and a group of self-interested warriors would gather around him. The way Ayyub Kurd maintained his power and gained popularity among the people in these circumstances was undoubtedly a commendable feat. Ayyub Kurd ruled for a decade in the area that comprised the Hastani Valley, 4,000 feet above sea level. Here and there, the remains of the Greeks and Romans were scattered in the form of ruins. They had been conquered several times. The signs of each invader were present not only in the form of massive structures, buildings, but also in the color and features of the people. Ayyub's title was Najm al-Din. He would certainly have proved to be a good soldier in due course. His territory was close to the kingdoms of the Franks, whose ancestors had come from Europe during the First Crusade, 1099, and captured Jerusalem and several areas of Palestine. All people who came from Europe and the East were called Franks because the Franks were the initial invaders. Ayyub had to contend with the plundering of Muslim tribesmen in addition to the Frankish raiders. But he was not heedless or unaware either. He always gave a befitting reply to the invaders. Overall, the Ayyub's era was one of peace and prosperity. Yusuf was reaching heights of consciousness under the shadow of his father. Joseph remained in Baalbek until he was 9 years old. He received his early education there. Then he traveled 25 miles to Damascus, the birthplace of the Prophet, one of the oldest cities in the world. Ayyub Kurd had 5 sons and 2 daughters. His arrival in Damascus was also a result of political circumstances. In 1146, Imad al-Din Zengi was assassinated at the age of 62. The circumstances gave him a life of 6. Taking advantage of this, the Atabeg of Damascus brought his army to capture Baalbek and camped outside the city. He summoned Ayyub to his camp. Ayyub knew that it was useless to fight the army of Damascus. And then the consequences of failure in the fight were also in Ayyub's mind. Nur al-Din, the emir of Aleppo and the youngest son of Imad al-Din Zengi, had not yet been able to distinguish himself. He was certainly a very capable ruler, but he had not yet convinced himself. The eldest son, Saif al-Din, had never proven to be a good warrior. But if these two brothers wanted to come to Baalbek to help Ayyub, the Atabeg of Damascus was already here. Ayyub was not as emotional and short-sighted as his brother Shirkuh. If he fought and lost his province to the governor of Damascus, he would be putting his future in jeopardy. So he agreed to negotiate with the emir of Damascus. The emir of Damascus offered him a fief near Damascus and a high position in the government in exchange for the peaceful surrender of Baalbek. Ayyub agreed. Joseph moved with his family to Damascus, and Damascus remained his beloved city throughout his life. Later, even though he became the ruler of Egypt and then the Sultan of Syria and Egypt, he continued to call Damascus his home. The Arabs and the Musafa called it an earthly paradise. It was a magnificent city adorned with magnificent buildings, trees, and flowers, and a center of knowledge and art. When paradise was mentioned, the Arabs would say that there must be a place like Damascus in paradise. In Damascus, Ayyub's sons entered the madrasas. There, ethics and philosophy were taught according to the teachings of the Quran. Yusuf spent the next 15 years in this eastern land of the gods learning the things that make life meaningful and worthwhile. In Damascus, not only cloth was woven, but swords and armor were made. They were used all over the world. There was no product competition. Yusuf's uncle Asaduddin Shirkuh was with his former master Zangi's son Nuruddin during this time. Nuruddin increased his power and authority as he progressed. Shirkuh also progressed and gained Nuruddin's trust. Shirkuh was 2 years younger than Ayyub. In addition to being a powerful leader on the battlefield, he was also unparalleled in his loyalty to his Atabeg. Then a time came when he became the commander-in-chief of Nuruddin Zangi's armies. The estates of Rahab and Amiya were given to him. And then he was made commander of the great army that Nuruddin sent to conquer Damascus. But this is a much later event. Before that, Ayyub had only been in Damascus for a year when the Second Crusade began. The combined forces of the German Emperor and the King of France besieged Damascus. Ayyub was given the position of deputy minister of Damascus and was tasked with negotiating with the Crusaders. Ayyub, with his intelligence, created a rift between the European invaders and the local North Franks. In an atmosphere of distrust, the invaders lifted the siege and withdrew. Ayyub continued to rise through the ranks of the government and 5 years later was made the military governor of Damascus under the viceroy Mu'in al-Din Onur. During this period, an army led by Shirkuh was sent to Damascus to fulfill Nur ad-Din's long-held dream of uniting Syria and Arabia. Ayyub was close to assuming the highest office in Damascus. Events unfolded rapidly. Nur ad-Din wanted to annex Damascus before liberating Jerusalem and conquering the Frankish kingdom of Jerusalem. He did not want an attack on Jerusalem to lead to an alliance between Damascus and Jerusalem as in the past. So Nur ad-Din's army set out to conquer Damascus. This army was commanded by Shirkuh. A clash between the two brothers was about to occur when the viceroy of Damascus, Mu'in, was appointed. Al-Din died suddenly. Mu'in al-Din was the tower of power in Damascus. He had defeated Nur al-Din's army in the past. His death spread uncertainty and panic in Damascus. The armies of Shirkuh appeared before Damascus in April 1154. They were close to realizing the Zangi dream of a great Syrian empire with Damascus as its capital. Zangi, and later Nur ad-Din, wanted to make Syria a prosperous and peaceful region free from the Franks.